Welcome to today's podcast, It's Worth Considering. Does it seem to you that life is a bit out of control? Well, if you think so, you're not alone. This short podcast is to help all of us consider the teachings of Christ, even in these out-of-control times. I am Pastor David, the assistant pastor at Bethel Gilead Community Church, also known as the Church on Block Road. My co-host for this discussion is Daniel Anderson. We are looking at AI, artificial intelligence. Should Christians back away or embrace this life-changing technology? Can it be and should it be used to propagate the gospel, or is AI of the devil? We are not experts, but then again, this is what makes it an exciting conversation. So let's get started. Hey, Daniel, I'm so glad to finally be able to get back up here and create this podcast about issues that, well, I think are very pressing. And one that's in the forefront of everything going on is actually AI, what artificial intelligence is. We're no experts by any means. You use it in your classroom that you teach at the college, and I've read about it. We've heard about it. We've heard the woes. So what do you think here?
Well, first I like to think of the pros, and there certainly are the woes. But some of the pros, I can just run through how I use it a little bit. I don't use it a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's a good idea. I think that we're assuming people understand what artificial intelligence is. So let's just give a very simple elementary school definition.
Well, just like you use Siri, probably, or you use navigation. So it's the internet scoured over, instantly given to you at your command.
So what do you mean by that? So if you have an Apple phone like I do, and I use Siri, and I'll say, "Hey Siri, what is this?" It will look it up for me. Everything from the weather. I use it for my Bible verses all the time. I'll say, matter of fact, I don't want to say it right now because I got my phone, and Siri will be listening, and will say, "Sure, here it is." So
it's amazing. Yeah, very helpful. And so just, of course, there's Chat GPT, number 4 now. Super powerful.
So what is Chat GPT?
Well, it will, you could use it to write yourself a paper, to write yourself a song, to put lyrics together, to give you an image. There's a program on that called DALL-E.
All right, so let's just take one of those at a time. Let's say, because you teach at the college, you got students and who will be assigned a paper. How does Chat GPT work? How would they use that?
Well, you sign up for it, and right there at the window, it's very effective if you learn how to feed it your questions so that it will give you really good answers. That's kind of the trick to using it well, is knowing how to ask it things. But anyway, you could say, hey, give me a paper, put it at the 5th grade reading level, and I want 3 paragraphs on this topic and then 3 paragraphs on that topic. I don't want it to be more than, let's say, 600 words, and yada, yada. You just keep feeding it parameters that you want.
So does this come back to you a day later, or what is it?
I'll come back to you about within 1 minute.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So as a former English teacher, if I would say, okay, we've read this book, I want you to give me a book review, and it can be Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, and I want you to focus on this theme, Life on the Mississippi, and you say, okay, you go to this program and you put that specification, no more than 5 pages, Tom Sawyer, Huck Finn, theme of, the Mississippi River. What does it mean? And it will then generate pulling from different sources. Now,
yeah, and tell it I want it to be serious tone, I want it to be funny, I want it to be sarcastic, whatever. Yeah, you'll have it in a minute.
So if you throw this through a program that catches plagiarism, is it going to catch it as plagiarism?
Well, there are programs that businesses, colleges can use that has a accuracy of about 90% for catching whether or not this was generated by AI.
It'll catch if it's done by AI?
Yes.
Wow. How does it do that?
Well, by the word choices that are used, the way that they're organized, and I'm no expert on it, But yeah, you can do that. I tell my students, don't hang yourself with this. Don't shortchange your developing your own potential. You need to learn how to write well. But I'm not necessarily going to check everything carefully and be the cop. I've got better things to do. So
here's the power of AI. Okay, as a simple example, because it's kind of in its infancy right now. Matter of fact, Trump just announced that there's going to be a $500 billion AI infrastructure that he's implementing. And so there's a whole lot of money, and people are going to go to do the research and figure out how they can use it. Matter of fact, if I was a business person, I would say, hey, do you know how to use AI? And I would want to see that they had the skill base to do that, because it's going to be very efficient if they know how to do it. I don't expect them now to have to do so much of this legwork. I think AI will do most of the heavy lifting.
Oh, it's amazing. It's a wonderful tool. You want to have a logo for your business? Go to that DALL-E part of ChatGPT 4. And in under a minute, you will have a really cool logo.
So it does artwork as well.
Very good artwork.
So we're talking, does artwork. There's going to be certain AI functions that allow that. There's ones that'll take and do writing. Okay, so it can do copy for you. It can create papers. It can do a review of all the subject matters.
You want to have a 30-second jingle or whatever as a commercial on your podcast or for your business? Yeah, it'll put it together.
So it does music as well.
Oh, yeah. There's one example. I'm not into rap. I don't remember his name. But anyway, a very famous rapper, I understand, who somebody used AI to, voice model him and have ChatGPT write up the lyrics for a rap and rap it to that with that voice. Came out the next day, had over 1 million views. And the commenter said, hey, famous rapper, you need to hire this this guy or be using this tool because it's better than you.
Yeah, well, I tell you.
And people didn't know it wasn't the original rapper.
Right. You sent me an example of a piece of music that was generated and the lyrics were generated, and the guy demonstrated, okay, let's take a simple or a silly topic like thumbnails. I'm having a hard time creating a thumbnail, which is a small picture that we use in videos when we do shorts or whatever on YouTube. And so he put it to music and they wrote the lyrics for a thumbnail. And it's like, that's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah.
But it's really good.
Oh, it is.
The music mixing of all the instruments and then the voice, which was created by AI, an artificial voice, all of it came together very quickly.
In the two pop programs that you'd want to check out, they have free trials. One is called Udemy, and the other is called Udio, and the other is called Suno. And it'll create the lyrics for you if you want lyrics. It'll put it in the style that you want. It'll have whatever kind of voice you want it to sound like. It will create all the music for you. And of course, this will be going into the courts because this AI has used, people's content that was published by, main studios to use it to model after. So they're using actual people's music and voices, and
are they creating their own voices, or are they using, for example, I was watching this documentary in AI, and it had to do with an actual physical warehouse. And AI, they had everything that was going to be recorded as to all the movement of the people, the machinery. So there was a virtual warehouse. Okay, so you had the physical and then was the virtual. AI took all the information that it observed and then it recreated new situations. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't just selecting what it seen, but it was able to take it and multiply it by making different scenarios and then conclude what is the best layout for this warehouse.
Oh, yeah.
So when you're talking about, I'll take your voice and my voice and we would blend that and create a new voice for AI, it's not mine, it's new, not yours, it's new. Mm-hmm. It'd be kind of ugly, but it still would be new.
They'd probably choose two different voices.
Sure. And so it's not, in one way, it is not going to be plagiarizing, is not going to be breaking, or copyright laws when you are taken to something that's new.
Well, that'll be for the courts to decide. That'll happen in the next few years, because they might say, no, you can't scour people's original copyrighted material and just put it together in your own way, because still you've modeled it after them.
So here's a question.
We'll see.
So when we look at the great artists of the Renaissance and everything else, they would go to Florence and they would study the masters. And you would see early on how the influence of the previous generation of artists influenced theirs, and then it would blossom again into part of theirs and now their own creativity. Isn't that really the same thing?
Yeah, that'll be the argument the studios will make. And I'm no expert, so I don't weigh in on either side. But yeah, they're gonna have their own artists. And the same thing with movies. Movies can be generated. You can generate yourself a movie and tell it what kind of plot you want, what characters you want, what tone, everything. Yes, it'll generate a movie for you. And the movie studios then can create their own artists that are AI that people might not even know are AI, or they're not going to care because it's good.
That's right. You may be following an artist that doesn't actually exist, has been created by artificial intelligence. Now, Stargate, again, this is going to be Trump giving $100 billion with the potential of $500 billion for this AI infrastructure. And one of the things in which he has done is to take down some of the restrictions and the controls so that it can be more quickly developed and created.
Yeah, this is like the new arms race.
Absolutely. So that's going to be part of it. It's going to be also, the idea is that we need to make sure that manufacturing, business, American ingenuity is not being hindered while China and other countries have less restrictions and are able to move AI much faster forward and bring it into the economy.
Yeah, because these AI tools, they can create their own software and they can create their own robots.
Yeah, I mean, so when you talk about robot, they do have robots. I was listening to AI documentary, like I mentioned, and the final stage, they laid out 3 different stages, and the final stage is going to be where AI will be brought into the human body, and that it's going to be both a computer and people using it as it reads your brain waves, and then also how then machines can become highly sophisticated and coordinated and be able to do some of the manual tasks that so oftentimes, they're just dangerous. They use them now in the military, right?
Right.
They'll send in a robot and to be able to go into an area that could be, in urban warfare, that would be dangerous to send their soldiers into. So there's a lot of capabilities, and you say, wow, this is pretty exciting. This is going to be able to change life. Now,
well, let me say before we go to the dark side, so far just focusing on the positive.
So there is a dark side. There's a woe, right?
Well, we'll get to that.
All right. So what do you want to talk about?
You're the host. I'll do where you lead me. I did want to mention one other positive thing that I really encourage people to do.
What's
seriously. That Google Notebook LM.
Oh, you shared that. So explain that.
Well, it's so amazing and so practical and useful, and I don't really see a dark side to it here right now, where you feed it information you want to feed it. So let's say that there are really trusted YouTube channels, podcasts, books, texts that you've copied and pasted into this thing.
So you can select what information you want it to use.
Right.
So it's not an open source, meaning it's grabbing anything and everything.
Right.
Misinformation or viewpoints you don't like.
Just depends on what you feed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it'll turn it into a podcast for you. And chances are, if you're not really paying attention carefully, you won't even know you're listening to an AI-generated podcast with AI voices.
Wow. Man. That's just, so you coming from the Catholic background, you could actually, what they did over in Switzerland, right, is you know where I'm going with this.
You're going to the dark side already. Come on.
Let's have an AI-generated Jesus in the confessional, right? And that's what they did.
Knowing that it was not a valid confession, of course. But yes, they did that. And the same thing with Buddhism, with Japanese. They have an AI, idol that they go to and receive their message for the day and worship it.
And so then the AI Buddha or the AI confessional Jesus gives back, this is what you should do.
Right.
Does it?
Yeah, and if you use something like this, like the Google Notebook LM, I fed it 2 sources to you and said, hey, David, here's a well-rounded viewpoint. So I gave you Bishop Robert Barron, and then I also gave things from Vatican I, I think it was, on baptism. And look, listen to this, and listen to this podcast that it generated. And I don't think you fell for it, but anyway.
Well, so in this real instance where they used an AI Jesus and confessional, they had a closed system. They used, as you were saying, all the doctrine strictly from the Catholic Church.
Right.
That way, they weren't bringing in anything from Eastern mysticism or Protestantism.
Oh, no.
It was all going to be according to the doctrine.
Yeah.
And it generates it on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
Where
that podcast might take you, a minute and a half even. Who knows? Maybe 3 minutes.
So let's say you step in this confessional and you explain this is what's going on. It's pulling from a huge resources, and then it's saying, okay, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You've confessed it, and you're sincere. You need to go out and do,
get on your knees.
Hail Mary, or
crawl.
go give, a strange dog some food to eat. I have no idea how you pay penance for your sins.
Well, that would be fun in the future. Who knows? Maybe we'll do it. Okay, you take your favorite speaker, authoritative sources, whatever, feed it in there. And then I'll take my favorite, feed it in there on a given topic. And then maybe play clips from the podcast that it generated or whatever on some topic, a Protestant and a Catholic. That would be very interesting.
Sure. I mean, that's kind of what we're doing now, right?
Yeah.
In one sense, you come from the background of Catholicism and you're well versed in it because you were Protestant and you're very familiar with that and went over to the dark side. and I've said, well, Lord, if there's truth in it, I'll go over it, but I haven't seen the truth yet. So
we're working on it.
We're working on it. So, and you're right. So it's generating, and people are going to be able to generate, these podcasts. They're going to be able to generate music. They're going to be able to generate copy. They're going to be able to generate artwork, and they're going to be doing it very efficiently. And that kind of lends us to this next step in AI. And I mentioned that to you, and that's going to be an AI agent.
Right.
And an AI agent would be like my own personal secretary, where now I can talk to Siri. I have an AI agent takes all my data and say, okay, here, for example, my car's not running well. There's a problem with the ignition, and I need somebody to look at it, but I only have Tuesday around 5 o'clock to be able to do it. And the AI, like Siri, would come, okay, let me check this out, and I'll come back with you with some quotes and also with reviews. Comes back and says, hey, I got these things for you. There's the Dodge dealer down the street has a 4.5 rating. It's going to cost you this much, and yes, they're available. And there's another one that's $100 less, but it has a 3.5 rating, and I can make an appointment for you. Which one do you want to do?
Right.
And it's let's do the one that's $100. Fine. And so AI agent will go and set up the appointment and then confirm it with you and say, as it puts it on your calendar, all taken care of. Pay the bill when it's all done. You don't have to do that. And you have an appointment because it hasn't talked to a person over there. It's talked to its AI agent. So they're not paying this receptionist to be able to put this schedule together. It's the AI agents that we all have interacting and taking these tasks out of our hands and making them faster and more efficient.
And down the road a little bit, even giving it your credit card so it can go ahead and book it for you and pay for it.
Absolutely. So why be bothered with that?
Right.
I mean, if the company's, backs its AI agents, that's secure. You're not giving your information. It's all secured digitally.
It's amazing, yeah. And I don't want to be the Luddite.
The what?
Luddite, somebody who's against technology, because yes, this technology can be used wonderfully, including for building God's kingdom.
How can it
Just
be used?
depends on you. That
No,
you
no,
use
come
it
on, seriously now.
judiciously.
Okay. Oh, can it be used? For example, can it be used to help build God's kingdom? I said to Siri, how does a person become saved? No, they're going to heaven. And then Siri pulls up through AI, according to the Christian belief, you must put your trust in Jesus Christ. You must ask him into your life. Gave me the whole, almost like the Roman road type of explanation, or the four spiritual laws. So does that advance the kingdom? Well, thank you for spending time to listen to today's podcast, the first in the series, AI. Is it evil and should be feared? Or is it a unique opportunity for good? We hope you continue to tune in and don't drop out as we continue with conversations that make a difference in our lives. Until the next time, go out as God's ambassadors, commissioned to a world in desperate need of the gospel. God bless.